Hi everyone, my name is Nick Graves, and I've chosen the South Sudan Civil War to cover as my current international conflict. All right, and some background on Sudan and the Civil War. South Sudan is the world's newest nation. It broke away from Sudan in 2011, borders 6 countries. It's been involved in decades of civil war because of its new independence and the civil war that ensued between Sudan and now South Sudan. It is also one of the least developed regions on the earth, which leads to poverty and in turn leads to war and civil unrest. The Civil War really started with a conflict between leaders of the nation. There was President Salva Kiir, who is ethnic Dinka, and former Vice President Riek Machar, who is ethnic Nuer, and we'll get into why that matters shortly. So there are various sources of conflict involved in South Sudan, and of those are governmental and political, which really sparked the civil war. And within the government and political conflict, there is ethnic division between the two parties fighting. And to further influence the conflict in South Sudan, there are territorial and economic undertones involved. I've included this comic on the right that shows a political sign up top, an ethnic sign on the bottom, with South Sudan on a cliff in the middle. And that's really what is happening in South Sudan with their civil war. They're stuck between a political and an ethnic war. As for the governmental and political aspect of the South Sudan civil war, this is really what caused the whole conflict. The Sudan People's Liberation Movement led the independence movement from Sudan and was the ruling political party of South Sudan. The President Salva Kiir accused now former Vice President Riek Machar of a coup and led to a divide in the party. What a coup is just a seize of power. And this caused a divide in the nation's army between those that followed Kiir and those that followed Machar. To further the strife between these two prominent political figures, President Kiir also accused Machar of planning a genocide of the Nuer people. Ethnic division. This is what fueled the conflict and really intensified it. President Salva is Dinka, and Dinka is the country's largest ethnic group. And the former Vice President Riek Machar is Nuer. The Nuer are the country's second largest ethnic group. When President Kiir accused Machar of a planned genocide and also a coup, this caused an even further division between the parties and incorporated a ethnic division between the two as well. As I said before, there are territorial reasons to the conflict as well. In December 2015, President Kiir dissolved South Sudan's 10 regional states and created 28 new states. This fueled even more conflicts between the two major ethnic groups of Nuer and Dinka. There are also economic undertones to the civil war in South Sudan. The area is rich in oil, and the fighting often rages around the control of this oil. The oil accounts for 98% of South Sudan's budget, so it's a pretty big deal who controls the oil, and if you control the oil, you control a lot of power in South Sudan. The area is underdeveloped and poverty-stricken, which again leads to a bigger risk of war. And South Sudan is seeing that this is true with the devastation that has taken place because of the civil war. There have been numerous amounts of war crimes by both parties involved in the civil war. There have been mass killings along ethnic lines where people are killed because of their ethnicity, whether they're Dinka or Nuer, and there's been soldiers targeting and killing civilians, which of course is against the just war theory. And much of this is because of their ethnicity. A UN Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide, Adam Dinge, said the ongoing violence has transformed the conflict into an ethnic war and warned of a potential for genocide, which when there's an ethnic war, I believe there's always a potential for genocide when both sides are fighting because of a division in ethnicity. There's also been a recruitment and use of child soldiers by both sides. Because of the civilian targets that both sides are targeting, there's been 2.1 million people internally displaced and over 50,000 people killed since December 2015. And here's a map of South Sudan and the location of deadly attacks that has been taking place. As you can see, the big circles are 400 fatalities, and it goes all the way down to 10 fatalities. You can also see that this is widespread across South Sudan, ranging from Bor to Juba to Rumbek and all over. With the direct effects of the war spreading all across South Sudan, you can see how so many people could be displaced and how so many people are affected by it. Not only is it causing deaths and fatalities, but it's also causing the local farmers to not be able to supply enough food, which is causing famine all across South Sudan. Thanks for watching and listening. I've included sources and further information if you are interested, so check those out, and thank you.